Welcome, everyone, to Mindful Mondays. I am your host, Laura Cross, and we are here to provide holistic practices, resources, and connections to support you on your wellness journey. In the early 2000s, I suffered a back injury that put me through multiple spine injections, muscle relaxers, painkillers. And it wasn't until 2004, when I had lost my husband, that I really realized the effect it was having not only on my health and my personal life, but my relationships. It affected everything. And I still really had no relief. Every time I'd have a little bit of relief, it would come back. So I have spent like these last 20 years getting to know more people and more things that are out there holistic, because the body has the ability to actually help heal itself. And there's a lot of things that we can do holistically, and it helped cure up a lot of my pain and everything else. So I have today with me a gentleman that has created this amazing Pocket PEMF device. And I want to share with you right now a little bit about that. And then we're going to bring him on because you want to know more about how this works. We don't always understand how everything works. And sometimes I think you really don't need to, just know that it does. And different things work for different people. So check it out.
Relief for PTSD, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and many other ailments. Introducing Vibe, the world's only pocket PEMF device. You place in your pocket while cooking, cleaning, relaxing, watching TV, sitting at your computer, reading, or walking. Self-contained standalone device. No drugs. No other phone or Bluetooth connections required. No monthly subscription fees. No apps to download. No boson. The future of medicine is in the frequencies. Come join the revolution.
So I want to introduce to you now Mark Fox. Now, Mark's got really a fascinating background. I mean, he was a Space Shuttle Chief Engineer. He's built his own airplane, crop formation research. How did you get to going from that to developing such a device to help people with?
Well, it actually started off with my dog about 20 years ago. She was downstairs, and one morning getting ready to go to work, and she started crying, which she'd never done. She couldn't come up the stairs. So it's my wife and I flipped a coin to see who's not going to work that day, right, to go to the vets. And so it was me. So I took her, and she ended up unfortunately having very bad arthritis in her spine. And so a good friend of mine named Oz Jackson, he's a very forward-thinking veterinarian. He said, there's a lady, a chiropractor actually, that's up in Oregon that has this miracle machine that can, help with arthritis. So we got ready to take her up there. She ended up getting too sick too fast, unfortunately. But that was 20 years ago. So I'm a rocket scientist, as you mentioned. It's like, it's frequencies and voodoo. I go, it can't really work. So I just started looking into it and doing a lot of research on it, and found out there's something to this stuff, and I've witnessed it. I've gone to a lot of training. I'm one of the 8,000 people that's been trained on these frequencies. And my motivation that got to the device was I just felt bad because I saw it was helping a bunch of people, but machines are expensive. I mean, if anyone's heard of PEMF, normally it's like, my data shows like 1 out of 10 or 20 people have heard that term. They usually think of like a mat, like a Beamer mat, or one of the mats that's out there, which those, or the guy I was talking to yesterday, he sells machines that are $50,000 each, right? So the Beamer mats are like 5,000. It's like, there's got to be a way to build something that's consumer affordable. So that's what I went after, was how to take those frequencies, take what has already been proven in the clinical environment for 35 years that was really helping people, figure out a way to make a device that was simple, easy, cost effective, and small enough it could fit in your pocket and be discreet, and you could take it on an airplane with you, or people would know you're even getting a therapy. So that's how I came up with Pocket PEMF device, is so you can hide it in your pocket. And if you're a woman, like 90% of the women out there that have a phone in their back pocket, you just put it in the other back pocket. I mean, that's pretty simple.
Yeah, and as you can see by the video, it is very small. It's very lightweight, so it's not even heavy. But so we titled this actually "Recharging Your Cells." Maybe can you explain to people how How does this actually work with the body? How does it recharge your cells?
Okay, so we don't know exactly what they call the mechanism of action, but here's what we believe. Here's what we do know. Okay, the industry knows that all the cells in your body have an electrical charge on them, just like your car battery has a voltage. And if that voltage gets too low, you get sick. So that's been proven in many studies. So what it does, it's been shown to charge your cells' batteries. So it's transferring energy to your body. It's charging the cells and bringing the voltage back up. So it does that, number one. Number two, it increases ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. So it's the main fuel that your cells use for food in your body. And it's been shown to increase ATP up to 500%. So those are the two main things. There's a whole lot of other things that are theories out there about what it does, but those are the ones that it's been shown to do that you can kind of measure.
Okay. So, and I know, I think you've mentioned before, because I know you and I've had this discussion before. How does it, you talked about using it a couple of times till you get used to it. But you said it works more effectively if we drink more water. I mean, how does all of that play with the device?
Yeah, what we're saying is you need to be hydrated. So the magnetic field itself, because it's so small and it fits in your pocket, is like the magnetic wave by itself doesn't travel far enough to get to your feet and your head. It just, that's how the physics of magnetism is. So, but we know it works. So, I mean, I've witnessed a broken foot, the swelling go down in minutes with it, somebody's top pocket, right? So, because of that, the theory is it's resonating with the water in your body, number one. And part of the reason we believe that, as I just said, is there's got to be a transfer mechanism or a wave or something, because a magnetic wave by itself can't do that, can't get far enough. Um, and we know that if you're not hydrated, it doesn't seem to work as well. So hydrated means 4 glasses of water in the preceding 4 hours before you did a therapy. So if somebody calls me, and it's rare, if somebody calls me and says, I don't think it's working for me, I'll go, it's one of two things, or both. One is you didn't use it. You used it once and put it on the shelf, or you're not hydrated. Well, I drink plenty of water, and you'll find out, especially elderly people are not hydrated at all. So that's one factor, is it resonates. Think of it like a pebble in a pond, right? You throw a pebble in the pond, the energy is at one point, but that wave travels quite a long ways, right? So it's that energy is traveling with the wave is the theory. The second piece is your body is very electrically conductive. All your skin, your organ, everything. And we remember from science class, if you have a alternating magnetic field, it creates an electrical current. And if you have an electrical current that's alternating, it creates a magnetic field. So the theory is this is an alternating magnetic field. It's creating a small, very small electrical current that's traveling through your body. So that's the two ways it actually moves that we believe.
Okay. And I'm
Now,
sure some people are wondering, I mean, some devices you feel like a little vibration or a little shock or but I don't believe so your device though you don't have that, do you?
no, and if you use the version, because it's easiest, because magnetic field strength's a little, it's like 8 or 9 Gauss, but let's just talk in terms of electrical terms, like if it was wires attached to you, because a lot of people are familiar with TENS units. So a TENS unit, you can feel muscle contractions, right? This is 1,000 times less energy than a TENS unit. So if I plugged wires into it and put it on you, you wouldn't feel anything. Some people will feel there's no vibration to it. Some people will feel some tingling in their nerves of the energy going in there. It will definitely make some people sleepy, especially if they're hurt bad, or they have a lot of pain, or they have a lot of toxicity, because your body's taking the energy it just put into your body and it's using it to help heal itself. So it's kind of the analogy I come up with is like if you eat a big Chinese meal, right? Everything's going to all the energy is going to your stomach, trying to digest all those carbs, right? So you feel really tired. So I have several people who come back and tell me it makes me really tired. I'm like, well, then run it before you go to sleep, because the one of the most popular protocols we have is sleep anyway. But that's one of the most best things you can do for your body, right? Is get a good night's sleep, solid sleep, long sleep, fall asleep faster. So that's how we think it works. I've said this to multiple people when the doctors jump on me and go, well, I need to know the exact mechanism of action. I'm like, well, you don't know how aspirin works either. And you don't know how any of your drugs work. And they'll go, yes, we do. I'm like, no, you have theories, but you haven't proved how they work. So my My logic on this is number one, if you don't hurt anybody, and I've spent a ton of time making sure you can't hurt people with it. It's such low energy, you can't overdose with it. But you know, I don't want to sell voodoo either, so I've been doing a ton of testing on it. But the bottom line is relief before reason. So when I get in a debate with somebody for more than 20 minutes about how it works, just go, Uncle, you win. Okay, I told you what I know. So try it for 30 days. If it doesn't work for you, I give you your money back. It's like, I don't want any person in the world to have one of these in their home if it didn't help them. I mean, I don't need any of that negativity out there. And so far I know this won't last. The dream won't last this long, but my return rate is like 0.01%. I have almost no devices come back. So that says something for, the efficiency of how it's working and helping people.
That is pretty awesome. So is there a risk with this device? Like if somebody has a pacemaker or something in there, does that pose a risk to people that have like pacemakers and stuff?
So if you have something like a pacemaker or an insulin pump, something that has a machine in it that has battery that's running, yes, the entire PEMF industry just side on caution. There is no cases that I know of where it's actually hurt somebody. But if anybody asks me, nope. If you have anything in your body that's powered like a pacemaker, don't do it, because theoretically, obviously, it's a magnetic field like we just described. It could mess with the electronics. Don't do it if you're pregnant either, which is the default for anything in the world, right? Don't drink a Coca-Cola either. All right. It's like, don't do
Right,
anything when
right.
you're pregnant. But so that's the official answer. But to get the level of safety relative, it's like 8 or 9 Gauss. If you go into an MRI machine, that's like 50,000 Gauss, maybe 100,000 Gauss. And it used to be that nobody with a pacemaker could get an MRI. Well, then they figured out in the medical industry is like, this person needs an MRI badly. They have a pacemaker. So that's changing. I mean, there's people with pacemakers getting MRIs today. They usually have a clinician standing there, to make sure nothing happens. But short answer, that was the long one. Short answer to your question is, be safe. Don't use it if you have a pacemaker. Now, if you have implants like a hip replacement, knee replacement, that's fine. Any metal in your body or screws or any of that is fine. It's not going to affect it. It's just if you have a electronic machine that's running.
That's a good point too, because if nothing else, you've seen in the movies the magnetic, and if you got metal
Yes.
in you, they always want to know if you got metal in you, you're going to set something off, or
Or Terminator
um,
3, right? Where the girl's running, gets sucks against the tube, melts. Yes.
pick them up. Yeah, yep,
Right. Right.
yep, definitely, definitely. Well, that's awesome. So it has currently what 55, I believe, protocols on
Has
it.
has 55 protocols. Let's see, 8 minus 8. There's like 42 of them that are targeted specifically at ailments like PTSD, anxiety, depression, ADHD, back pain, insomnia. The other 8 are new ones that I added. 3 of them are earth related. So back to kind of the safety issue. PEMF is not new, weird thing. The earth puts it out all the time. So the earth puts out a PEMF at 7.83, 20.1, 14.3, and 20.1. So there's 3 main bands that the Earth's putting out all the time. So you, me, every living thing, every non-living thing lives in PEMF. So you're engulfed in it already. So it's safe from that point of view. I'm sorry. Ask me your question again, because I lost my train of thought
Well,
with
oh
the
no,
earth.
but you just brought up another question. What exactly do the Earth protocols do? You have 3 of them. What do those help with?
I'm experimenting with them still, but the whole earthing movement, where like I have my feet right now on an earthing mat, where there's a whole lot of data. There's actually 24 peer-reviewed studies out there that show a lot of illness is being caused by wearing rubber shoes, tennis shoes, because you're not grounding to the earth and it's not getting free radicals and stuff out of your body. So my hope is that you can do earthing or grounding with your shoes on, because I'm simulating that frequency. So we'll see how that works. And just there's several studies too with African tribes and stuff that don't wear any shoes, that have some diseases don't exist, like leaky gut is one. They have no cases of it at all, right? So there's some of those theories to go back to that. There's a great movie out, it's free on Netflix, called Earthing, to go watch it and look at some of the data relative to that, which is really interesting. The other 5 are brainwave entrainment. So experimenting with a lot of things like that, but like meditation, right? So alpha theta state is, if you're meditating, it hopefully can get you into meditation quicker. Stay there, because if you're like me, it can only stay there for about 3 seconds without hard concentration. Getting in the groove, right, or in the vibe for sports, right? There's been proven that the best athletes pre-game warm-up and stuff, they get their brain waves into a certain mode. So we're doing that right now with, kids soccer and basketball and football and stuff, is get in the zone when your kid's taking piano lessons or your kid's studying for exams, right? You could just stick that in your pocket. Or yoga, right? You're trying to relax anyway, put it in your, I guess you guys don't have pockets on yoga pants, do you? Or stick it somewhere.
Some do,
okay.
Depends.
Which the older device that we had, it's funny you brought that, because the older device that we had this one only gets to 105 Fahrenheit, so it's just barely warm to the touch. The old device actually got to 135, so it was almost like a heating pad. And I had so many women call me and go, "It gets too hot. Take it out of your bra. Quit putting it in your bra." And they're like, "How do you know it's in my bra?" Because the only people that call and complain about being too hot means they have it shoved in their bra. Put it on a lanyard outside of your neck. So yeah, so I'm telling people not the new one you can put in your bra. It's fine. It's not hot.
Well, that would make sense though, because if you're working out and you want to have it there to help assist you, but you have no pockets, you don't want it dangling and smacking into you. So
to date, I've never worn a bra yet. So it's like I've never experienced that, but now I get it. Now I actually notice that now, how many, and you're just out and about, how many women
how many people you see going
like that and pulling phones and money out and whatever else comes out of their credit cards,
I am guilty of doing that a couple of times, but then I realized how much damage and stuff you can be causing because of the radiation that your phones put off, and to have that so close, to your heart and your chest and all that. So I made it a point to stop doing that.
So it's happened twice now too. Is like, I don't know if we should share this, but why not? It's like, I got mine wet. How do I dry it? And did I ruin it? And I'm like, well, first of all, don't use it over the toilet. And they go, "Are you a psychic?" No, I'm not a psychic. I just know that's exactly what happened. You had it in your bra or whatever. You bent over, you did something, and it fell in the toilet. And by the way, if it does fall in the toilet, pull it out as fast as you can, like anything else, and hit it with a blow dryer. So I've ran toilet tests. Yes, I have. I'm an engineer. Drop them in the toilet, pull them out as fast as you can, hit them with a blow dryer, and they haven't broke one yet that way. So
now, I haven't done that with a device, but I have done that with a cell phone. Back in the day when you had those little flip phones, and I had it in a pocket, and I turned because the pocket in my jacket apparently was too shallow. Next thing I hear, ploop. I only had the phone for 3 days, and in it went, and I was like, oh my God.
So if you look real close,
there wasn't enough hair drying and rice to save that.
These little vent holes, that's where the coils are at. So they're there for 2 reasons. One is in case it gets too warm, which it doesn't anymore, to have it ventilate. And 2 was, if you drop it in the toilet, you hit it with the blow dryer, it drives all the moisture out of those holes. Your phone doesn't have a way to do that, right? So your phone's sealed. Your phone's actually sealed to be good to a couple feet of water these days. It's water resistant. So that was on purpose.
I love that though. You've actually taken the time to, we all have the craziest things. It's either because we've done something stupid or it just, happened, but you got it covered, which is good. So we're going to have to, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the first time it happened, I didn't know if a blow dryer would fix it in time. So that's why I dropped one in there and tried it. So yeah, that's
Do you have a 5-second rule? 5-second.
It was a 5-second rule, and it was clean water. So,
well, that's a good thing too. Oh, well, we have to break really quick for some ads from our sponsors and stuff. But I know you have some fascinating results of stuff that has helped people that have PTSD, and we also and Mark also has an offer for those of you that are watching. So bear with us. We're going to go on a commercial break, and we will see you soon.
Jeff Pearson here, host of Invisible Condition, where we talk about all the people who are living and thriving with all those conditions that you can't necessarily see from the outside. Join me every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV.
And we are back. So, Mark, I know PTSD is one of the protocols, and I know it's me being a military veteran, it's kind of near and dear to my heart, but I also know that there's a lot of people that aren't veterans that also suffer from PTSD. Maybe you can expand for us a little bit about what your device or what your results you found for people that have that.
Okay, yeah, great. So it's, I said earlier that I don't want to sell voodoo, so I need to prove to myself that this works. So 55 different protocols, 41 ailments, basically is what it started with, is like I had to pick one. So I picked PTSD and trauma because of the 44 suicides a day, the 22 military veterans, 15 first responders, 5 medical workers, and 2 active duty. So I think that adds to 44. That's not counting everyone that's not counted in that, right? Which is, those statistics are kind of followed, especially the military veterans. So that was kind of my goal, if I could stop one of those a month, so that was the one I had to go pick to go prove to myself it works. So I did clinical trials on that one. We have I'm going to say it's a 93% success rate. It's probably 95 now. And when I say success, it's measured by the Veterans Administration. It's a 20 question questionnaire. It's very simple, but it's 0 through 4. 4s being the worst. So the 80 is the highest score you could possibly get. And if you're above 31 to 33, you probably have PTSD. So 93% success rate, or 95, somewhere in there, means that it came down. So they did a score, they did their initial score, then they do a post score 30 days later. They all came down, not all, 95% of them came down. 2 out of 3 of them were clinically and statistically significant, which means the VA ranks it this way: as if it's a PEMF, a drug, intervention, a puppy. If it moves by 11 points or more, then it's clinically and statistically significant. So we know 2 out of 3 people, it falls in that category. The only negative, if there is one, is even though there's that big a success rate, about half of the people will tell me, hey, I'm not sure it helped me. So I get that once in a while, and I've talked to a lot of psychologists and doctors about it, and they're telling me, yeah, that's super common in any therapy. I have a friend since grade school who's a chiropractor, because I videotape them all the time on range of motion, because a month later they'll say, I could always do this. No, you couldn't. You couldn't even bend your elbow when you came in here a month ago, right? So there's that part where people forget how bad they felt. Plus, it's trying to calm the fight or flight part of your system. So that's the part that's kind of a bummer for me. So I started to build reports for free. So anyone that buys a device, I encourage them, if you're doing this for PTSD or you're thinking about it, take this 15-minute survey, take it again in 30 days so I can show you the difference, right? And people are shocked. They'll go, man, I don't think it helped me a whole lot. Like I said, about half of them. And it's like, you went from a 70 to a 12. And they go, what? So it's not me manipulating the data, it's them self-reporting. I'm looking at it right now, Laura. So here's one of the 50% that said it absolutely helped me. It saved my life. After this call, I have a Zoom call with her. She went from a 78 to a 19 in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's like, and her testimonial you'd cry if you read it. It's horrific. She's like, they misdiagnosed me for a bunch of things. I had chiropractors adjust me who were breaking my ribs unintentionally. Part of my brain was dislocated that they misdiagnosed. They put me on a heavy cranial stimulus machine. And she goes, when they turned up the intensity, it freaked me out. She goes, I ran your device. I feel way better. Went back to the doctor, and the doctor can now turn up this cranial machine on me, and I'm not fighting it. And the doctor goes, what did you do different? And she goes, I started running this thing in my pocket. And he goes, what is that? So it's like, and getting that for a lot of doctors is from patients. Like, my doctor wants to talk to you. What is this thing? I'm like, right, well, please talk to me, because I'm trying to get them to doctors. I've got, so that's it. PTSD. I started off with thinking, you said military. I thought it would be mostly military men that would help. And it's actually been much more civilian women. That surprised me, but civilian women for daddy issues, bad husband, horrible boyfriend, or both, you know,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
miscarriage, life trauma, car wrecks. And it ends up being in the United States, the number one cause of PTSD is a car wreck, because there's 44,000 a day or something like that, right? So people are traumatized with going to that intersection and don't want to drive to that store anymore. So that's the number one thing we've gone after PTSD. Anxiety, we're getting tons of great results. Uh, Asthma is I'm super excited about because I have a 100% success rate, but that's both measuring it and self-reported of how much you could breathe. But I don't brag about that because I only have 12 people in the study, and the statisticians and doctors will attack me. Um, Anecdotally, for diabetes, and this is super exciting, I don't believe this, right? I don't, but it's too much evidence in front of me now. It's like I have first friend that went from he's taking 80 units of insulin a day, 40 in the morning, 40 at night. His blood sugar still at 220. He did it once and his blood sugar went to 100. So I have 8 people now that have told me anywhere between 1 and 4 sessions, their blood sugar has dropped dramatically. Still not going to brag about that yet. So I'm launching tomorrow a diabetes study, a blood sugar study, to get enough sample size to say, is this real? Can it really do something for blood sugar? So that's super exciting to me as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mind helping you with that.
Okay.
My fiance is a type 2 diabetic, and he has the 20 units of insulin in the morning, which he's not supposed to have to stay on that forever. But again, depending on, what he does during the day, if he hasn't had a whole lot of activity, his numbers can still easily be 200 in the morning. But then if he's out doing stuff in the heat, it'll drop. Carbs normally affect him more. But so when people are running the insulin and the diet and the PTSD protocols and stuff, are they doing it every day to get the results? Are they doing it? Do you know what the frequency is that they're using it to get that result?
Yes. So what I recommend, the answer is I recommend 3 to 4 times a week. So every other day for any of the protocols. And people ask me, well, how long do I run it? Well, you run it however long the protocol is, because each one's different, but they range from 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. Insulin resistance, like 45 minutes. PTSD's very complex because it's the whole body. So it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I recommend that people do it 3 to 4 times a week. And a logic I was using there is, in the clinical environment, in 30 days, that's 12 to 16 visits. And that's kind of the cutoff where if they haven't helped you by then, it's not working. So that was the original rationale that I used. Number one. Number two, I've learned from people doing this is there's a significant amount of people where your body needs a rest. Okay. It's people are going to be super tired. And so give it a day in between that. So people, now, having said that, there is at least 25, 30, it's probably more than that. There's 25% of the people out there will admit it to me. It's probably half of them are using it 8 hours a day, and they don't care. They're addicted to it. They're running every protocol. I have one friend who is a ex race car driver who has had 4 concussions, and he's been on fire twice. Okay. He was taking 8 Ambien. I've never had an Ambien in my life. 8 Ambien a night to sleep for 15 years. And now he's not taking any, and he's sleeping great. Now he's one of those guys that's like, I'm addicted to it. I don't care what you say, Mark. He's bought 15 of them for his friends and family and stuff. So there's people out there that's like, it's a good data point because I keep saying you can't overdose. Now I have enough data that says you can't, right? Is people are just running it all the time. Some people are buying the reason I created a 2-pack, one of the reasons last week was because battery lasts 5 hours and some people want to run it for 10. So here, buy a 2-pack at a super discount and stick one in your pocket while the other one's charging. But I, I don't, it's back to how does it actually work? Like the aspirin story. I don't know the exact, and I think it's probably different for different people, but listen to your body, right? When it's the other day, somebody goes, it's my body's tingling so hard. It's freaking me out, which is very rare. Okay. maybe 1 in 100, 200 people. I said, well, do you have it on 10, the power level? She goes, yeah. Turn it to an 8. She called me next day. She goes, perfect. Not doing that anymore. It's like, turn the gain down a little bit, right? You're running it too high. So
Yeah, sometimes more is not always better, but we always want to get there faster. I think that's just the way we are in today's world. But I
yes.
can tell you, I can't even imagine being on that much Ambien. They put me on that after my husband passed away just so that I could help sleep. And we had to go to Florida because my grandma was about to have a triple bypass, and me and my sister are in the hotel room. And it says to take it when you're in bed. And I did. In like less than 5 minutes, I was out. And the next morning, my sister tells me, well, she put a mirror over my mouth to make sure I was still breathing
Right.
because I looked like dead to the world.
Yeah.
And when I was ready to quit it, I misunderstood the doctor's instructions and I quit it cold turkey. I
Oh,
didn't cut it in half and trim it down. And the headache I had, I couldn't even see. I couldn't read small stuff. It was just horrible. And they gave me just enough pills. And I'm like, okay, never again, not messing with it. I'm
right.
like, talk about brain fog and everything. I was like, oh, yeah, no, my head was after that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I love things like this that and I got your device. I did get your device and getting ready to do this TV show. I have been locked up in front of the computer a lot more than I normally am. And it made it so tight and painful all through here. It was like that burning pain. And I'm like, you know what? Great time to try out this device. And I put it on and I didn't need Tylenol. It just, by the time it was done running, I could barely feel, I could feel there was something still there, but it wasn't burning to where it was so distracting that, you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm in pain. How do you stop this?
That's awesome. Did you try the hat trick yet? Or you haven't got to it?
What's a hat trick?
The one I told you to tie it at the back of a baseball cap.
Oh, yeah, no, I have not had no, I have not. I forgot I was talking about stuff in the back of a sports bra. No, I have not tried the hat trick yet.
A back of a sports bra. Now we got two kind of bra insertions. Okay. Got
Well,
front.
I'm just, they come way up high. I'm like, you can just,
I get it. I get it. Okay.
Anyway, off the bra situation. I think we all have our own crazy things that we do, but whatever works. But
Well, the guy that the other day is like, you got one for prostate. And I'm like, no, but I have general inflammation. He goes, where did I stick it? And I go, well, uh, your best bet's probably put it in your front pocket, point the coils as close as they can to your stuff and just go with that. And that's what he's doing. He's getting a ton of relief. He told me his quote was, I'm going on vacation for 3 weeks. This thing's my lifeline. He goes, I want a specific prostate protocol when I get back. I'm like, okay, let me work on that for you, Ed.
yeah. And if I remember right, you've had a surprising result from because had a doctor, I believe, call you about his MS patients.
Yeah, I had three doctors. Three doctors called me and they said, they're in one term or another, this thing's kicking butt on MS. I'm like, muscular sclerosis? And he goes, yeah. I go, I don't have a protocol for that. So what are you doing? I go, are you running fibromyalgia? And he goes, all three of them said yes. So they just looked at it and went, all right, this is a nerve damage issue thing ish, that and brain balancing. So I said this to somebody yesterday. It's like every day now I get an email that says, do you have anything that'll help with ASRPN-C? So you don't want to go Google that without a cold drink. You can't unsee what you go see at this CDC, right? So you got to be careful with that. But I'll go type it in, just go, ugh, okay. And then I got to read the underlying cause. Is it inflammation of the throat? Is it inflammation of kidneys? Is it inflammation of whatever? Is it a nerve thing? Blah, blah, blah. Is it tendons? Blah, blah, blah. So then I'll just say run general inflammation. Is it allergies? Okay. One lady called me scratching her arms to death. I don't run allergies to see if that helps. So I'm getting a lot of luck with that. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. Okay. But that's the recommendations I'm giving people is go try it because it sounds like it might be this. And what I've learned from all the 8,000 practitioners, they run brain balancing at the end of every session almost if they can't figure out what to fix. They're just like, you know what? Brain balancing, it seems to help about 60-70% of the time when we don't even know what's really wrong with them, right? It's kind of like we haven't diagnosed this right, or they will run the learning these terminology, right? The patient will come in and present these symptoms, and then they diagnose it as such and such, and they run the protocol, and it doesn't help them. It almost becomes a diagnostic tool, because then the doctor goes, it didn't help you. Why? It means I might have diagnosed this thing wrong. So and another one that just, you said something about, you asked about pacemakers and stuff. The only side effects, okay, is the first time you use it, if you're in severe pain, don't be driving a car or operating a catapult or going hunting or any of that stuff. Because if you're in severe pain, it may reduce the pain so fast that you get a rush of endorphins and you'll feel drunk or stoned. I had a woman, a 23-year-old woman, she's actually a chiropractor, standing over here, got in a car wreck, had a bad, super painful back. She ran the prototype actually for 15 seconds and she started to backpedal and she sat in the chair and she goes, I'm seeing double vision. And it's like, so I've never experienced that. Thank God, knock on wood, because I'm not in that much pain, but that
Right.
can happen to some people. The only other side effect that we know of, if it makes you feel sick, and I've only had this happen to one person so far, but I know from the clinical practice that this happens, it means you have an infection. You have an impacted tooth, you have an infected toe, you just don't know it. So what happens is when you run, most of them have 40 hertz anti-inflammation in the
Mhm.
protocols. So the theory is, don't know, kind of like aspirin, but the theory is the inflammation is getting reduced. That inflammation was holding all that poison in one place, trying to kill it, and it kind of released it a little bit into your bloodstream. So there's many cases where, not many cases where a patient jumps up and goes, your machine sucks. And they run out of the doctor's office and they never come back, right? Because it made them feel sick. And the doctors yell, well, go get a blood test. Go get a urine test. You got a urinary tract infection. You've got something. So those are only side effects that we know of. The joke is it could get you drunk or stoned, but it's legal in all 50 states.
That is a good joke too. But yeah, no, it's definitely, and different things work for different people. So, not everything works for everyone, but when you have something like this that's natural, it's not throwing drugs, it's not throwing labels on it. Um, I've come across people that, have 6-year-old kids or whatever, and they have ADHD. Um,
Wow.
well, okay, but no one really tested to see, is it something they're eating? Is it environment? Because there's like so much to stuff that people don't realize that can be affecting, your health.
Two comments to that. One is the exact protocol that I'm using. They have a 75 to 80% success rate with ADHD at Cleveland Clinic, and they're using the big expensive machines and stuff. So eventually I want to do an ADHD study too, but so there's that. I had another point and it just escaped me. So go ahead and ask another question. I forgot what it was.
That's okay. But like you said, you've made this device and you've made it affordable. So tell us a little bit more, about that. I will put the link up where people can find more information about
Okay.
that. You can either scan the QR code or go to the Resona Health .com, which I believe you founded, Resona Health.
I did found Resona Health. Yeah, it's Resona. So the landing page we have for you and your listeners is resona.health, like you have up there. There's a dot in there. There's no .com. Resona.health / Laura Cross. Your name.
QR code will take them right to it.
QR code, take right to it.
Mhm.
It's interesting because I wanted to get resonahealth.com, of course, when I started, but it was $100,000. And this is weird karma. Last week, middle of the night, I just had a thought. I wonder if it's for sale now. I walked out and it's for sale for $12. So I bought it like a week or two ago. So if they go to resonahealth.com, it'll take them to the website too, but they need to go to your landing page because that's where they'll get $150 off. And so it's $399 retail. We're giving your listeners $150 off to try it. Bottom line is, try it. If it doesn't work, I will take it back and give you your money back. As I said, I don't want anyone to have one out there where it didn't help them. I mean, it doesn't do me any good to do that. I mean, I have no problem taking them back whatsoever.
Right. So when they go to that link, is there a promotion code then that they will need to put in
Yeah, and it's on
to
the
save the
webpage.
$150?
There is. It's on the page. It's on the landing page. It's Laura Cross 150, like $150 off. So yeah, when you go to the shopping cart, you just put in the code. If we're playing with some of the technology to make it automatic and stuff. So it may, when you go to the cart, you click on order now, it may say coupon code already applied. And if it does, then it's just saved a step. If not, then just go ahead and put it in.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal device. I've only had it. I've had it for a couple of weeks now. I've played with like different protocols, but once I realized I didn't have to necessarily only go 3 to 4 times a day, it's like, okay, feeling anxious, anxiety. Let's run that. Let's see how that works. So, but yeah, I have the exercise induced asthma. I have, allergies from the stuff. So lots of neat things I know I can try on that.
Real quick, I know what the other story I was going to tell about. You were saying about the environment, and you don't know, it could be different for each person.
Mhm.
This is a conversation I had with a doctor yesterday. He had a patient, he was talking about stress induced diabetes. Never heard that before. He's like, I have a patient that was on 4 medications. Her blood sugar was still 350, which is astronomical. Could not get her down at all. Her daughter moved out of the house and her blood sugar went to 100, and I took her off all the drugs. I go, is that possible to go to 350 to 100 because your kid's driving you nuts? He goes, yep, I got 2 other patients just like that. So, because we were talking about this diabetes study that we're going to do, and he goes, it's not just measuring the blood sugar mark. It has to do, you got to ask some more questions. Is it the environment and stress? And do they have diabetes 1.5 or 1.8? Or I go, I didn't have heard of that. And he goes, no, that's the thing. There's diabetes type 1, type 2, and 1.5 and 1.8 and stuff in between. And your kids are driving you crazy, diabetes. I was like, oh, so it's way more complex. But so, yeah, my point being, there's a story just yesterday. Doctor was telling me about that it's going to be different for everybody. But, and when you get there, I'm just going to say this because of my friend, when he went from 80 units to 0, then he told me, I'm not taking any more insulin. I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I didn't tell you to do that. He goes, nope, I'm good. I'm at 100. I go, well, you had to lose a bunch of weight because he's a big burly guy, right? And he goes, no, I didn't lose any weight. I'm like, you had to lose weight. He goes, no, I didn't. I go, and he's on a call like this, right? He gets a smirk on his face. I go, Bert, why are you smiling? He goes, well, like a little 8-year-old. He goes, 8-year-old boy. He goes, well, my blood sugar is so low, I started eating stuff I like again, like donuts and candy. And I was like, okay, that's why you're not losing weight.
Now I have to tell you, because I just think that's kind of a guy thing too. So like I said, my fiance is a type 2 diabetic. For those of that know anything about my story, they know we just recently moved from Colorado to Missouri, and we needed the environment change. We found out he was a type 2 diabetic on Halloween. Actually, it was after a car accident because his toenail had got black and blue and lost it. They did a blood test, and all of a sudden they're like, you need to go. He was like 350. He was something really high, and they were telling him he should be in a diabetic coma kind of thing. And he's like, I'm just hungry, tired, because he could drink full Mountain Dews and just go to sleep. Didn't affect him, loved it. Diabetes runs in the family. Well, long story short, we wound up going to a doctor. He had developed a sore on his foot. He worked at Rocky Mountain Oil Change. He was on his foot 12 hours a day pivoting, and it created a sore. And so it kept opening, and they put him on different medications. We finally got it after months to get it to close up. We thought. We moved here, everything's laid back, enjoying life and everything. And then all of a sudden his numbers were still starting to bounce a little bit, and his blood work was coming up funky, which it didn't used to. Next thing I know, we're going to the hospital, and he loses the second toe on his left foot. That sore, it wasn't that it healed up, it moved in through his bone on his foot. So it had been there since Colorado, because I had some people saying, oh, that's because you moved. No, things have never, been better. And we've been able to get it under control. He's not on his feet, 24/7. And we're still working on it. But that is when they put him on the 20 insulin. I got him off of the metformin, and has been able to, with a different product, I've got him to start reversing the kidney damage, because his kidneys were being damaged by the metformin. And he was this close to having to go see a kidney specialist. We got him out of that. So yeah, just down to like 2 tiny little drugs. And if I can get him off of it, that would be great. But that's always his thing. He has his cheat day, and he likes to get, and then I'm like, okay, within reason, can't keep having cheat days. You're going to wind up back in the same situation.
You cheat a little bit, but not much, right? Or once in a while, right?
Yeah. Yep. But I think it's a fantastic device, and much more affordable than the other devices. How would you say that compares, to the other ones?
There's some other products out there that are in the price range. Happy's one of them, Omni PEMF, and I don't consider them competitors. I've talked to both their CEOs, and we all agree if we can just raise the awareness of all of this alternative stuff, it's better for everybody. So they're in the same, $300 price range. Most of them charge, when they're that inexpensive, they usually charge a $30 a month subscription fee, which all companies love subscription fees because it's revenue you can count on. Every person hates them. So I actually, Laura, I spent 2 years building a subscription fee model around this. And then I know myself, when I buy a 1 year subscription, I put on my calendar right then when I buy it a year from now to make sure I'm still using it and cancel it. So I made a conscious decision as no subscription fees, no apps to download. It's a standalone device. So I did that on purpose. So it's in that competitive range. Now, when you get to the mats are $5,000. The doctor I was talking to yesterday, the machines he's buying that he just sponsored are $50,000. So some of the higher end ones, they put out stronger magnetic fields, but you can't take them on an airplane with you. You can't take a mat on an airplane with you. It has 6 or 7 pieces. So I made a video the other day about comparing it to a mat. What's the difference between that and a mat? Well, okay, it's 152 times smaller. Yes, I'm an engineer. I went and measured it. It's 152 times smaller. It's 4% of the cost, or 20 times cheaper, right?
Yep.
It's 8 times as strong. It fits in your pocket and it's FAA cleared. You can take it on an airplane. So you can't do that with a lot of the devices that are out there. The other 2 devices I just mentioned, they're not my competitors. I'm not knocking them, but they go on your head. And I kept thinking about, and I know why they're doing that, because they're trying to get to the brain. You think intuitively you need to do that, but it reminds me of the Green Mile, of getting shocked in an electric chair. And in fact, one of the devices uses wet sponges, just like the Green Mile, which freaks me out. That's why they've totally changed the product now. But it's interesting because the 2 that you put on your head, customers are not using it that way. They're sticking it on their shoulder or on their leg, or they're wearing it like a necklace, right? So they don't really, so in the price range, there's a couple people that are close to me like that, but, and I don't know their technology that well as far as hardware or why their costs that much. I know what mine costs to make. And it's not that expensive, but Zuckerberg is, right? I got to make noise so people know who I am. I got to get on great shows like yours to say, hey, I'm here. Here's what I got, right? So it definitely cost me more money to sell one with noise than what it costs for me to make it, right? But
that's why I like the word collaboration, because it should be a collaboration. Everybody's been taught competitive. What does your competitor do? I don't care. I don't look at it as a competition. I am uniquely me. You are uniquely you. We all bring something unique and different to it. And not everything works for everybody. So you need the variety of what somebody resonates with. Speaking of Resona, but resonates with, and, and needs to be a good fit for them. And my whole goal, and I think your goal is the same, is to just get people healthier and on their own, not so reliant on having all the drugs and the brain fog and the side effects. And God knows we got to love those commercials with the whole long list of side effects. This, or you could die. Okay, I think I'll just keep living with this, because that's not that's not a side effect I want.
One quick comment, because it's you said people's half the equation. The other half is dogs and cats, right?
Yes.
So you could use that same thing. So this is the cool little bandana that we created for a dog, that the vibe fits in there, and then you just wear it around the dog's neck. So even your dog gets a therapy without anyone knowing about it. He's just wearing a bandana walking around. So I'm writing an article right now, and I'm doing a podcast on it, as the top things for dogs: separation anxiety, right? PTSD, because 20 million dogs in the United States are from rescues, so they've been in jail. Arthritis, right? Allergies, scratching. If they're licking and scratching, it's probably an allergy, right? And wound healing. So they've been hit by a car, they've been neutered, some kind of surgery. Wound healing. I have these devices with one veterinarian in Colorado who uses this technology like 10 times a day, right? Just for post healing of surgeries. So it's people and pets.
I will have to get on there because I can relate to that. I have my friend's, we adopted my friend's service dog, and he's a
Oh,
mobility and alert. So you want to talk about severe separation anxieties. He's used to me because I used to take her to her appointments. So he knew me for 4 years before we adopted him. But the older he gets, and he's 12 years old, he does not like being separated from me. He does not like fireworks. If the neighbors are shooting, because we're in Missouri, we can do that here. We can blow stuff up and we can shoot stuff. So, he just wants to, he's just like, oh, ears go down. Nope, back inside. He's done.
I made
So,
yesterday. I found real quick. I found I just dawned on me. It's like, all right, try to have fun doing this, Mark. Too. It's like, is there an app out there for talking dogs? And there is. There's 3 or 4 of them. So I just got it yesterday. Just started playing. I'm gonna run some Facebook ads with this, and it's like one of them is, okay, I don't know what kind of wise guy out there brings this horrible sound with this rain, but every time it rains, I know, I'm talking about thunder, obviously. It's scaring me to death, or separation anxiety. So I'm going to, in the next day or two, we're going to have some Facebook ads that I'll probably get a ton of Facebook haters criticizing me because they're goofy little dogs talking, but yeah, the whole 4th of July fireworks and all that stuff. My dog hated it. She's a 90-pound, 3/4 black lab, quarter
mhm.
German Shepherd, and she would get under a bed that had about that much clearance, and then you couldn't get her back out. Right when there was a thunderstorm, she'd wedge
Yep.
her safe in there, and you had to grab her back feet and shimmy her back out. It was not
Yeah,
fun.
you can't see him, but he's on the floor right here because he's never far from me. He's black lab, German Shepherd, Husky mix. So he's a good 86 pounds.
Okay,
Ain't you hiding under the bed on that one?
you wouldn't
But
think a
yeah,
90-pound dog could get under there, but she found her way.
yep. Well, we are almost out of time. Now, this is going to be off. So real quick before we take this down, guys, like I said, if you want to get a hold of this device and find out more information about it, make sure you scan that QR code. Mark does have the $150 off for you. And like he said, he doesn't want anyone to have something that they don't like. So, but I have to ask you, what was it like being a crop formation researcher? I thought that was just kind of one of the coolest things.
Well,
I know it's off topic, but I just had to ask.
I think I still am. I mean, it's interesting because people go, well, how come we don't have any crop formations in the United States? I'm like, because there's 1.5 people in the U.S. researching it. I'm the half a person. The other person's up in New York. There's nobody looking for them in the United States. But I always just I'm not obsessed with them, but I've read every book in English that I know what's out there, and I've met a lot of the researchers and stuff out there. And there's a book called The Source Field Investigations. This is probably 13 years ago, 14. It was by a guy named Wilcox. And his book was the freakiest, weirdest stuff on the planet. And you get to the appendix, it's that fat. You get to the appendix at the back, and it's like, there's a short little description on, I need to at least talk about crop formations, but I want to discredit my book. And I'm like laughing. So, are you kidding me? But it had a picture in there of one that was not symmetrical. It looked like a pizza pie that had different shape, and it represents pi. So 3.14159, the numbers in a circular. So what's called authentic is the term we use, means it's not man-made. So, and by the way, 95% of crop formations in the world are not man-made. And so I called up the 2 researchers in England, Lucy Pringle and Michael Glickman. I said, did you 2 go in that field, this one? And they go, yep. I go, was it authentic, which means it wasn't man-made? They go, yep, it's authentic. And I was like, okay, I'm going. So we took summer vacation, went over there. My wife came with me, did research on crop formations. Her boss told her, she goes, I'm going to England to research crop formations with my husband. He goes, you must really love him. Right? Because but there's some very distinct things. I made a checklist of 15 things. My cockiness is they're 95% are not man-made, and I can prove it. And I can go to a 15-point checklist that shows you exactly the difference between one that's made by a man and one that's not. The first one is real simple, is the knuckle on the wheat is inflamed and turned at about 45 degrees. If it's man-made, it's going to be broken because you smashed it with a board.
Right.
There's evidence that the soil has gone to 800 degrees centigrade because it makes BBs out of the iron in the dirt. There's little silicone things. So there's about 15, 16 different things that I have a presentation where people just go, you got to be kidding me. I was like, I
We
tell
have
them
to
to be.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that
Okay.
more in detail because we're out of time today. But
Yeah.
thank you very much for being here. And guys, make sure you reach out and check it out. We'll
Yeah.
see you next week.
Thank you so much.